And thanks again, everyone, for being here. I hope you're enjoying our virtual or hybrid, I should say, convention, WFTG convention. Yeah, it gives me absolute pleasure to introduce the next speaker. Those of you who were with us on our educational day already know her. Our next speaker is Todras-Whitehill. Now, Tara is a visual storyteller. Visual storyteller. She uses her camera lens to tell stories from all around the world. And she has already given us a couple of examples of how to tell a story in a dignified and in an ethical way. So these are subjects and aspects that are very close to her heart, also very close to my heart, and I think your heart too. So I'm really looking forward very, very much to dive deeper into Tara's knowledge and experiences and to hand the word over to her again. Tara, over to you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm a little bit later than you because I'm in Istanbul, but it's a pleasure to be joining you all again. So last time on Monday, I had talked about, how to think about taking photos ethically and, being involved in the community and being able to do this stuff. And I wanted to make this kind of an open thing where I have some work to show you that of projects I've done, which may be nice to see, and I can guide you through maybe sometimes how the pictures were taken or other questions. But for those of you that weren't there, I'll just give a quick intro to myself, and then I'll go back and I'll ask if anyone has any questions, and if not, then I'll go to some of my photos and come back. So we'll just do it that way. So let me start with the, oops, that is, there we go. So this was, oh, that's, hold on, sorry, I was in the middle of that. All right, give me 1 second. That's at the beginning, there we go. Apologies. So here is just the visuals and ethics Q&A. So if anyone has questions, think about them. But again, my name is Todras-Whitehill. I'm a visual storyteller, and I am a founder of a storytelling agency. And I have had my photos featured on more than 20 front pages of the New York Times. I started with one creative agency that I had for 6 years, where we did a lot of projects, big and small, photo, video, but also everything else you can think of that goes in digital storytelling. So animation, data visualization, illustration, UX design. And then when I started my second company in 2019, I decided, on top of all those things that I was already doing, I also wanted to help people become better storytellers and have them be able to tell their stories from the inside out. So, and part of that is about the ethics behind that, and also just about how to get the best pictures to make the most impact online. Okay, so I am going to just go into one of my, I see my actual name is spelled wrong on there. I don't know if that was me or someone else, but my last name is Whitehill. Not that that's a big deal. I just noticed that. So let's just go into photo essays. But before I do that, I'd love to know if people who had been at the session on Monday or have other questions about storytelling, visual storytelling, I can open it up and see if there's anything before I go and I show you guys some of the pictures. So I'd like to see if there's anyone that has a starting question. Okay, well, if there is none, then I will just, oh, is there?
Just waiting. Sarah is checking online, but so far we didn't have any questions for you, Tara.
Okay, that's great. So just if there's anything that comes up, please just put it in the chat or raise your hand, and I will go back and forth and just check in and see if there's anyone that has any questions. So the first, I'm going to share my my photo screen. So this is a photo project that I did with the New York Times. And it's, this is, as you can see, a massive puppet that was to raise awareness for kids and refugees coming from Syria, because as you know, the refugee crisis coming from Syria has been going on for a decade now, and it's really important to try to find different ways to do it. So this organization who does puppets brought this lovely 30-foot high puppet named Amol, and she walked across Turkey and Europe looking for her mom. And so I was honored to be part of the first when she started her journey in Gaziantep, which is in southern Turkey, down by the border of Syria. And the idea of like every project, I try to think about the things I want to capture, and this goes for any community. I was trying to see like the massiveness of her versus everyone else, and just kind of the awe and the love that it kind of created, because when you're faced with a 30-foot puppet, it's kind of brings you back to being a child very quickly. It certainly did with me. This was a lovely assignment, and the whole thing was they were guiding Amol to find her mom with these little lights. And so, just trying to find different angles to represent the story, even just a portrait of Amol. So it's always a great thing to try to get different, like our brains look at photos as, if we take everything from the same perspective, our brains will lose interest, because our eyes look at things and we see things close up, we see things far away, we see things all over. So when we're taking photos, it's really important, if you want to keep people's attention, to really have different angles, close-ups, mediums, far away, to have all these different things. And so like nice pictures of people and their, their expressions of watching this giant puppet, which was extraordinary, from old men to young children. And some people don't like to get the media in shots. I think that that's authentic, because there was a lot of media. How could there not be if you have a 30-foot puppet? So to show all the aspects of what's happening as she walked through the streets of Gaziantep, and just the looks of the little children, and she attended a concert. So it was very nice to kind of see this interaction with her. And then the next day she went to Adana, which was the next stop on her journey, and just looking at the little children, like where they're like looking up at this, you feel connected, because you understand that, like immediately as a little child you would have felt this way. So just like kind of getting that awe and feeling the energy, and how beautiful these moments are. They brought these little birds out that they had made and followed her around. And especially when I'm doing these kind of things, I also try to make sure that I'm incorporating the backgrounds, because obviously, and this as tour guides, like where you are is very important. So always trying to make sure that, context and seeing things that would be identifiable in the background, even if people don't know it's in Adana, then they might know that it's Turkey. So like these kind of nice moments, as she crosses the bridge in Adana to a park. This is one of my favorite photos of a little boy. When we talked on Monday, I talked about ethical storytelling and about how we should get consent. And you have to evaluate each place in terms of this. Like this was obviously in a park. It was an open space. There's nothing that is harmful about taking a photo like this, because there's nothing that this issue is about that would be problematic. But we always have to reconsider this. Like if this was, someone that we needed to get permission from, like making sure that We asked the parent if it was okay, showing them the picture afterwards, is really important. So we always have to assess the situation, because sometimes it's not possible to get consent. But then, there are other times where it's really important and we need to. So just thinking about all these things when you're taking pictures, especially of children. This was, I thought, a nice picture because it showed her large feet in comparison to everyone else, even though you can't see her face. I think a lot of people shy away from pictures like this because it doesn't show everything. But to me, what's important about a picture is the intrigue. If you just see this picture, when you start looking online, I'd be curious and I would want to know more. So just giving these kind of intriguing photos is also really nice, because it piques people's interest to want to say, huh, what is that? Yeah, I'm very interested in that. I want to know more, because you don't need to give the whole story in one picture. It's nice to just give them an element of it so that they can figure it out themselves. And then finally, it was just kind of the nice interactions. She bought a cotton candy from one of the sellers in the park, and it was just very sweet to see the environment and everyone around. So that's the last one for that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now and just see the questions. I see one question that said, are you also doing videos? So I do videos on and off. I haven't done them recently because I've been working online mostly. But yes, in general, in the past, I have done videos. I don't have any of them today to show. But if anyone's interested, I will show my information, and I'd be more than happy to guide you to where you can find the videos that I've been working on. Does anyone else have any other questions? Oh, it says, what programs or apps do you use or recommend to improve our visual storytelling? I think that's a great question. So the first thing is, on your phone, there's just normal, the camera, you can do something that will help you a lot. So on your camera phone, there's, you can put grid lines on your phone, just on the normal camera app. There's an app, usually a setting inside the camera that says grid lines. And that will help you, because then you can see in terms of where you put the pictures. If you always put someone in the center of a picture, that's not as interesting to our eyes as something where we have to look and figure out what's happening. So if someone is on the top right or the lower left, we call this the rule of thirds, and the grid lines are actually in thirds. So you can see when you do it that the grid lines are, they're there. If I was able to connect my phone, I could do this, but I'm not sure I can put it up there. You can see there's grid lines on my phone, and you can use that to say, oh, I'm going to move my subject slightly to the right of my picture and slightly to the left. So that's the first thing. You can just use your normal camera phone and do that one thing and play with grid lines, and that will vastly change and make your photos a little bit more interesting. Because again, if we just are given everything, if we are given everything, we as our brains don't work as hard and we don't care as much. But if you put things a little bit off center, a little bit different, then people's brains have to work a little bit harder, and we care more when we see the results. So that's the first thing. And the second thing I would say is that if you're doing any editing on your phone, I highly recommend, there's a Photoshop Express, which is one that I use, and also Snapseed. That's another one that are good for this. There's also for photo, if you want to pay for an app, something called Filmic Pro. I'll put it here in the in the chat. Filmic Pro, FILMIC space Pro, is a very, very good app for video, because video is a lot harder to do because you have to make sure the audio is correct and everything if you're really doing good video. So I highly recommend that. I highly recommend that app for video. Any other questions right now? Okay. Oh, there seems to be something in the Q&A. Right. Okay. Good question, Monica. What about online stream tours? You can't edit, it is live. Any tips? So I'm not sure, Monica, if you were on the first session that I talked about kind of what you can do in terms of online, but I'll summarize very quickly, which is that when you're going through a community, like it's always helpful to go in before if you're not familiar or you're not from that community, especially to meet with the elders of the community, the people who might be around in the shops or in the streets, just kind of like greeting them. Because when you're going through an online tour, right, you're not able to stop and talk to everyone, but people might be curious. And then also, if you have someone with you, kind of like a producer who can stop and tell people what's happening so that you don't get held up like that. And then you don't also ignore people who are in the community to help them do that. So that's always good if you can have like a two-person team at least to go with you when you're going on online tours. The third thing I recommend in terms of is, talking to people in the community, finding the elders, working with someone who's a local producer if you're not from there, and having someone with you, is also to go back afterwards and to follow up, walk the same streets that you had done with an online tour, so that if there's any sort of feedback, good or bad, you can talk to people there and then they feel like they're participants rather than subjects of the photos. So, using in terms of like, the different stuff, you can explain what you're doing and how this might help them. And then they can give you any suggestions about like, well, maybe you can give back by stopping at this shop and showing people how they can buy online, or they can donate here or anything like that. So, you can really give back more to the community that way in terms of that. And then that'll engender more trust. And even if you haven't planned on going back, someone else might, right? If it's a lovely place, they want other people to come back, then you're building trust for the next guide that's going to come, and they're not going to feel like you're just leaving them and using them as subjects. So that's part of ethical storytelling, is really looking at the people that are in the communities that you're going into as participants rather than subjects, or people that are, so that everyone feels really comfortable with you being there. Okay. Deborah asked, following you very helpful points on how to take photo visuals, what's the best way to coordinate our commentaries as storyteller guides? I'm not sure I understand what you mean by commentaries. Do you mean like something that you give to your to the people who are on the tour, or are you talking about when you do the photo video, how do you put like a caption, the best way to do that? Do you think, Deborah, you can just add to your question so I fully understand it? Okay, let me just say, and let me make it the more general, is that if you're doing photos, it's always great to use people's names and to ask them if it's okay. Because if you're doing a street scene, you want to explain the street scene, but you can't get everyone's name, right? It's just not possible. But if you're say, oh, well, that's a lovely picture of a woman sewing, and you ask them if it's okay to take their photo, don't stop there. Ask them for their name, ask them why they do that, ask them what's important to them, and put that in your captions if you're doing Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is. Because when you give people a sense of the person in the photo, then they connect with it in a different way and they care. And that also gives the person in the photo the agency, because you are not they're not just faceless, or rather they're not nameless. They have a face, but they don't have a name. And so it's not just a random person in this community, that kind of thing. So, trying to get the names and a little bit about their lives, spending a little bit of time with them, will do wonders also for just the trust of the community and also the authenticity of your tours, because you'll learn more about the people and spending time with them. And I know it takes more time to do these things, but if you do it, then you really, this is why ethical storytelling isn't easy, but it is much better, because people are no longer just like a snapshot and then walk away. Because that, if someone did that, they just put a picture, the photo in your camera in your face and took a picture and walked away, you'd be like, excuse me, like, what did you just do? So yeah, who is our audience? Following you, what is the best way to coordinate our commentaries? And then you said, who is our audience? I'm sorry, I'm not sure I fully understand. But I'll finish that point about the captions because I think it's relevant. And then I think like when you're considering like who your audience is online, you can think about the kinds of questions that you want to ask the people in your pictures and put that into your captions, because someone who's your audience, that is a 50-year-old male, is going to have a very different interest than someone who's a 20-year-old college student. So thinking about the kinds of questions that might be relevant might be important. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and do one more photo essay for you. And then I'll take a couple more questions before we finish. Oops, that's not, I keep going to the wrong one. All right, stop share, start again. Yes, okay. And then I'm just gonna do, let's see, this one is no. So this is a photo essay that I did about a women's theater group in Turkey. I saw that there was this woman who was a farmer who had taught herself to read in southern Turkey, and that she decided that she wanted to create theater for the communities who were, very, didn't have a lot of money and had never probably seen theater, and to talk about in a humorous way serious issues that may be problematic. So like even things like abuse or lack of education or things like this. And she created this group of all women farmers who took these plays around southern Turkey. And so this is one of the women who has dressed up as a man, and she really took it on. It was amazing. She really became the man when she did this, and that really not only gave back to the community, but to these women who typically didn't have a family anymore, either because they were divorced or widowed, and they had this community of women, which was really empowering to them. And what was amazing, and I think I was trying to capture with the light, and this is that many people had never seen a play, and it really affected them in ways that they, getting the response from the men and the women really did it. And this is the founder, Umeya, and she was just a spitfire woman, really awesome, fun, so much energy, and really just lovely. But they were also farmers, so I wanted to show not only their performances, but this is them studying a script while they're also doing like the things that they normally do, like cooking and things like that. So, I went behind the scenes, I took pictures of the play. This is of a man who comes home drunk and beats his family. But on the other hand, like, it wasn't at all, when you do these things, it wasn't upsetting in the way that it accused anyone. It showed the real issues, but it also showed how they could change them. So it really had an amazing effect in the community with people seeing it. But it was very bare bones, and I wanted to show all different aspects of this, from the laughter to behind the scenes to the play itself, to them, rehearsing and things like this that they took time to do. But there was just a lot of love, and I definitely wanted to show, how they lived their lives, and were farmers, And so these are kind of like the different ways that I wanted to show a full picture, which is also incredibly important when we talk about, you know, showing not just one piece of something, but the whole picture is the love and the joy and, you know, the hard things and the good things. So trying to think how we can do that when we take photos of a community is really important, because I think then you're really showing the true character of everyone involved, and, you know, just the day-to-day life of what they do. And this is one of my favorite pictures. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can you make the picture big or bigger?
Oh, it's not
the
big?
Overview of all the pictures, because for us here in the audience, it's a little bit difficult to see what you're talking about.
I'm sorry. I see it as big on my screen. I apologize. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, let me see if I can stop the share, and let's see if I, let me know if this works.
I think we see the other screen, yeah.
You see the small pictures?
We see the small pictures, so I think you have to stop screen sharing and choose in screen sharing another screen to share.
Okay, thank you. Was it like that for the first one? I apologize if that was the case. Okay, let's optimize for video. Maybe that'll help. How is that?
That is much better. Thank you.
Oh, okay, let me see if that, do you see it now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Sorry, I can go back to the first one and show it to you again. So these are the pictures of the women who are part of the play, and this is Umea, the woman who's the founder, and showing their life and their work. And like when, you know, this is the play where the man was beating his family, came home drunk, but still done with a lot of ways of being serious, but also not accusing anyone, and really having the whole community try to be better, you know, and just their performances, you know, and like they really cared for each other, and I wanted to show that affection and also their daily life. So we really got everything that this was like about, and this ran in The Guardian. And this is one of my favorite pictures of just like the love and affection that people have in this. And then this is them coming home at night after a performance. And I love this picture because it shows the, like I was saying before, the background, but also like, you know, their true caring for each other. I'll quickly go back and do the other ones so that you guys can see them big, because I can't, having Amol small is completely can you see now again? Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is the Amol set of photos. Sorry about that. They mean very different things when you see them small and you see them big. So just the capturing like full, like I was saying, just different, you know, wide angle, medium, close up, just kind of always looking, because what our eye sees is very, you know, all over the place. And we keep people's attention by using also different viewpoints. And also just getting the emotion of the moment with the kids and the looks on their faces, and the people of the community being involved. And then, of course, the background being important too, because we want to show the places that we are. So, you know, having the whole picture of the environment and just the awe that it inspires on little kids' faces. And just also interesting shots that we're not sure exactly what's happening, but gives us interest, the viewer's interest to want to do other things. So those are the two. Okay, so my apologies for that before. I don't know how that didn't work, but someone just asked which software to use. That software is called Photo Mechanic. It is not free, but there's also one called Light something. Well, I forget the name of it because I don't use it. it's also, I think there's a free version of Photo Mechanic, but that's a very good one for separating photos when you have a lot of photos, because you can put them in different categories and it's very intuitive. So that's another one that's really, that I highly recommend Photo Mechanic. It's like a one-time software buy. Any other questions? I know we're almost out of time, or we are, but if there's anything else that people would like to ask, I'm happy to answer a couple more before we finish.
Yeah, may I ask, are there any questions in the room? Tara can see the questions online. Any questions in the room? No, I want to, yeah, okay, on you go.
Question from the tech team here. We are experiencing at the moment also in 360-degree cameras and all these things. Have you experienced something with that? Is that the future, more looking around because the technology is getting cheaper and cheaper? And also there's some transformation into augmented reality, virtual reality. So what are your experiences in that?
So my experience with the 360 is that it's still to do it well, still takes a lot of equipment. That may change in the next few years, I'm sure it will, but you still need like a clunky headset. And of course, again, they're coming more, but you know, as it stands right now, the 360 still has a ways to go before we can use it well. Also, because if you're streaming live, it takes a lot more bandwidth to do those. So if you're in different communities and you don't have a good Wi-Fi or MiFi connection, it's not going to work for a while. I have seen some very nicely produced virtual realities, but they still take a lot of time and a lot of money. So I think for the next couple of years, especially if you're going places that don't have Wi-Fi and you're using, live tours, then it's still hard. If you're doing one set and you're taking a picture, there's definitely, you can put them online, you can use them with Facebook, you can do all those things. That's definitely different. What I would also say about augmented reality or virtual, like augmented, or, is that I'm not sure the place that we'll have for live, because you want to show the reality of things, right? But it may help when like you're trying to show people how things might change. Like, for example, there was an app, it's defunct now, but it would show you the level of water that would happen in the next 80 years to that area due to climate change. And that was very powerful. So I think there's more and more ways we can use it, but it's still not something that we're using in every day at this moment. And I think we have a little bit longer before we really see that come to fruition.
Thank you, Tara. If I may ask a question that comes from the completely different direction, it's in the age of virtual and visual storytelling. Is there a danger that this type of media might replace and endanger the kind of sitting around the campfire storytelling face to face? Or do we actually, as tourist guides and also virtual storytellers, have a responsibility to keep the traditional storytelling going? What are your views on this?
Well, I think to do any storytelling well, we need those skills firstly. Like the same stories that we tell well around a campfire, they have the same moments of tension, the things that capture our attention. If we don't know how to tell a good story, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, visually, it doesn't work in text, it doesn't work spoken. So we always have to work on those skills. And I think that, we find ourselves in a very virtual age, but you also, and I'm sure most people are experiencing this, have fatigue of being online. So I think there is still this need of the human interaction, the stories we tell at parties, this kind of thing, the stories we tell at campfires. I don't think that that's going anywhere anytime soon. And in fact, that's a really good way to hone our skills, because like if we're doing those stories well, we can use that as a basis for saying, oh, this is how I tell a good story when I'm talking. How can I translate that into the visuals that I'm also trying to do?
Fantastic, because I must say when you were talking, and also I'm sure other colleagues did that, I recognized a lot of our skills, like you are directing what the viewer wants to see through where you point the lens and how you, make it look on a picture. We are directing the eyes of our visitors there in the presence through describing and to really telling the story. So it's, I think it's important to remember, as you say, that the traditional skills of storytelling, of taking people with you, of bringing something to life are the basis for then becoming I love that term as well, virtual storyteller. So thank you. And also and something the dignified storytelling, that reminds me of our code of guiding practice, doesn't it? So I'm glad that has been also brought into the current moment.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I interrupted you.
No, it's great. I mean, those are wonderful things. And I think it's fantastic that, I'm sure these are all kind of things that are top of mind for you, but it's always good to think about them again and to make sure that we're assessing them in the right way. So I really appreciate you asking me to come and speak and talk about these things. And if anyone has any more questions, I'm just going to put up quickly my my information. So I also have let me know if you can't see this, Master Visual Storytelling group. Yeah, on Facebook and on LinkedIn. You can join the group, ask any questions there. Also feel free to reach out. My email, my social media. So anything there, please feel free. I'm always love to have more of these conversations.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think that was a perfect ending, and no doubt we will be in touch virtually or maybe otherwise as well. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your inspiration.
Have a wonderful rest of your conference. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Tara.
Bye.
Okay. For the next speaker, I would like to hand over to my colleague, Juan Ignacio. So no further ado.